Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole? Would I be the A-hole public? It is by user HorrorSquash4757. Am I the a-hole for publicly humiliating my wife at her workplace after discovering her affair? I don't even know where to begin. My wife, Leah, 43 female, and I have been married for 10 years. We have two beautiful children, our 5-year-old son and our 2-year-old daughter. I thought we were happy, or at least I thought we were trying, but 4 weeks ago, my entire life came crashing down. I, 46 male, started to notice when she was glued to her phone more than usual. Leah has always been private, but this was different. She'd smile at her screen, then immediately lock it when I walked into the room. One night, after she fell asleep, I couldn't resist. I checked her phone. What I found still makes me sick to my stomach. There were messages with a coworker, Eric, 48 male, going back years, explicit texts, photos, promises of love, even references to secret trips they'd taken while I was at home with the kids, believing she was working late. My heart was racing, my hands trembling. I confronted her the next morning. At first she denied it, said I was misunderstanding, but when I read the messages out loud, her face crumbled. She admitted it. She said it started 4 years ago, long before our youngest was born. She tried to justify it. You were distant, we were struggling. But nothing could excuse this. I started digging deeper. I followed her to work one day, needing to see it for myself. Sure enough, after her shift, she walked out arm in arm with Eric. They didn't even try to hide it. They got into his car and drove off. I followed them to a restaurant where they sat like a couple, laughing, holding hands. It broke me. But what shattered me completely was when I learned they'd built their own life together. They'd been renting an apartment near work, a place where she'd go when she was working overtime. I saw them go inside, watching them from my car parking on the streets, a few blocks away. I checked on them for about 4 nights, and they had the same routine. That's when I snapped. I packed all of her belongings, everything she owned, into the back of my car and drove to her workplace the next morning after spying on them. I know I did wrong. When she walked out, I dumped everything right there on the sidewalk in front of her and her coworkers. I told her she wasn't coming home. Since then, I filed for divorce and I am fighting for the full custody of the kids. She's begging me to forgive her, saying she doesn't want to lose the family we built. But how can I? Friends and family keep asking me if I regret how I handled it, publicly humiliating her, kicking her out without notice. I do. She tore our family apart, and the least she could do is face some accountability, but I can't help but feel like the bad guy for how I acted. I had nights where I felt very lonely and I miss her. Of course, I am also attending to therapy sessions to be better for the kids and for myself. All I care about are them. They don't deserve this chaos. And as much as it hurts, I know they are better off with me than someone who could have lied for so long. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP, in my opinion, no, you're not the a-hole. You simply reacted in an emotional way to something really heavy like finding out your wife is cheating on you. Now, sure, you could argue that, throwing her crap on the floor in front of her workplace didn't portray you in the best of lights. But if you'd like to go through the moral equivalent, you're definitely better than a cheater. And also, who cares what people who don't know you think of you? In the sense that, are you feeling bad because somebody's asking if you feel bad? I'm not going to hold the way that you reacted against you, and I'm going to move on to say congratulations on doing the work. It's clear to me that your kids are your top and biggest priority, and also you're taking care of yourself by going to therapy. And that's it, OP. Whatever your ex-wife's feelings are on the matter, she lost any kind of empathy by the way that she treated you. 4 years of having a second life, an apartment even. So no, not the a-hole. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. TaylorMade2566 says, your soon-to-be ex had no problem making her affair public, so she has no right to cry about you making the divorce the same. I really hate it when people claim to want to make a relationship work after they were outed in an affair, but they did nothing to stop it while it was happening. The time for possible forgiveness was when she came out to you and admitted she had an affair, ended it, and wanted to make things right with you, not the a-hole. Tia Lelea says, nope, not the a-hole. When she became unhappy in your marriage, she should have come to you to fix it, not crawl in bed with a coworker. Laughing out loud face. Marriage is a partnership and she stepped out. You have every valid and good reason to leave her because of it. Honestly, you could leave someone because you hate the way they brush their hair. You're unhappy and leaving is the right choice. No one wants to live in a home where mommy cheated on daddy and daddy hates her. Shrug. Leaving and building a new life is the best step. Good job. I would have done the same exact thing. First assignment 9773 says, not the a-hole. In my opinion, you didn't go far enough. Get a DNA test on your kids. Go no contact with anyone who is taking her side. She decided to destroy your marriage. How do you know if they were practicing safe sex? Get tested for STIs as well. If he is married, blow his life up as well. Expose everything. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. Cheaters get no leniency. So now, let's move on to the first of 2 updates to see what happened next. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I wanted to share an update about where things stand now. For those asking how I didn't notice her affair for 4 years, it's because Leah was always incredibly private. She was adamant about boundaries and would shut me down if I asked too many questions. She handled the rent, utilities, and her own expenses, while I covered the groceries, the kids' school costs, internet, water, and anything extra. She claimed it was fair since we both worked, and I didn't push because I trusted her and didn't want to create unnecessary conflict. Looking back, I can see how I missed the signs, but at the same time, I didn't think questioning her was necessary. After finding out about her affair, I had DNA tests done for both kids. My son is biologically mine, but my daughter isn't. That was a tough pill to swallow, but it doesn't change anything for me. I've been her father in every way that matters, and I love her like my own. I believe the person who raises a child is the real parent, and no court is going to convince me otherwise. Right now, I'm in the middle of the legal process. The divorce itself hasn't been finalized yet, but I've made it clear that I'm fighting for full custody of both kids. I've explained to the court why I believe Leah isn't fit to have primary custody. Her betrayal wasn't just a personal one, it shows a complete disregard for the stability and well-being of our family. The court process is slow, and so far we've only had preliminary hearings. I've provided evidence of her infidelity and the double life she led, and I've asked for a full psychological evaluation for both of us to ensure the best decision is made for the kids. I'm also working on showing the court that I've been the primary caregiver emotionally and financially. My lawyer has told me it's a tough battle, especially since courts often lean toward joint custody, but I'm not backing down. To those who said my story sounded fake, I get it. This is the kind of nightmare you think only happens in movies or to someone else. I wouldn't believe it either if I wasn't living it. All I can say is I hope you never go through something like this. It destroys everything you thought you knew about your life. For now, I'm staying focused on my kids and doing everything I can to give them a stable and loving home. They're the only good thing to come out of all of this, and I won't let them down. Thank you for your support. It means more than you know. Additional information from OP's comments. One thing that hit me the hardest after I went through her phone wasn't just the affair itself, but what I discovered about how they'd been living. From the messages and financial records, I found out her affair partner was paying for most of the rent on their secret apartment. She chipped in some of her salary too, but the only reason she could even do that was because I was covering almost every other expense at home. On top of that, she handled the taxes, and I never questioned it. I thought it was fair since I was taking care of everything else. Looking back now, I feel like an idiot for not even checking. It wasn't just betrayal in love, it was financial deception too. The DNA tests are another piece I never fully talked about. People asked me why I would put myself through that pain, and the truth is, I needed closure. I couldn't live the rest of my life wondering if my kids were mine or not. The results were a gut punch, but they gave me clarity. I love both my kids the same way I always have, but personally, I needed to know. Even now, I haven't decided whether to pursue the question of whether her affair partner is my daughter's biological father. That feels like opening another door I'm not ready to face. For now, all I know is that I'm her dad in every way that matters, and that's enough. When I confronted her, I made sure I had everything I needed to protect myself. I copied years worth of texts, photos, and messages from her phone before I ever said a word. I have all the proof anyone could ask for. There are moments where I still think about putting it all out there and exposing them both publicly, but every time that thought comes, so does the exhaustion. I'm already stretched thin, trying to work, take care of my kids, and process everything. Dragging them through the mud might feel good in the short term, but it won't change the reality I'm living in now. And deep down, I don't want to stoop to their level. If I'm being honest, some nights the shame still creeps in. I feel stupid for trusting her with the money, for not seeing the signs, for letting myself believe everything was fine. Other nights, it's guilt, because part of me still thinks I should have done more, that maybe I should have gone scorched earth and ruined her reputation the way she ruined our marriage. But most nights, it's just exhaustion. I'm drained, and all I can do is keep going. That's the part nobody really sees when they hear stories like this. It's not just the betrayal, it's the way it lingers in every corner of your life, in finances, in parenting, in self-worth. I'm doing my best to move forward, and my kids are what keep me grounded. But the truth is, I'm still carrying the weight of everything she did, and maybe I always will. Well, at this moment, it's clear that OP is right in the middle of the storm. But let's skip 9 months into the future and get to the final update to see how this story ends. It's been about 9 months since my last update, and a lot has happened since then. The legal process has been slow, as anyone who's gone through family court probably knows. There were several hearings where both sides presented evidence and we both had to undergo psychological evaluations. In my case, the evaluator focused on my ability to provide stability, consistency, and emotional support for the kids. I was able to show through records and testimony that I'd always been the primary caregiver, handling school enrollment, doctor visits, groceries, and day-to-day routines. That, combined with the fact that I'd been the steady financial provider, weighed heavily in my favor. The evaluations weren't easy. They involved long interviews, written tests, and even observing you interact with your children. It's draining, but it made sense because the court wants to see if you're equipped emotionally and mentally to raise kids on your own. Leah went through the same process, and ultimately, the reports showed that while she loves the kids, I was the parent who had been consistently responsible for their well-being. I also made a major life change. I left my old job and switched to working fully remote from home so I could give the kids the time and attention they need. It hasn't been easy financially, but it's worth every sacrifice. Being present for them every day, breakfast, school runs, bedtime, has given them a sense of stability, and it's given me peace of mind knowing I'm there when they need me. The court granted me full custody. That said, we agreed that Leah could come visit the kids on Saturdays at our home with me supervising. At first, I worried how it would go, but the visits have been chill. The kids are happy to see their mom, and I keep it focused on them. Leah has made attempts to talk about our relationship again, but I'm not changing my mind. This is only about the kids now. It hasn't been easy on them. They ask questions, especially my son, about why things changed. I never go into details. I tell them that mom and dad had problems, but what matters is that they are loved by both of us. I've also put us into family therapy. Every day we sit down with a child psychologist, the three of us, and talk about feelings in a safe way. I've explained to them that none of this is their fault and that they don't need to feel anger toward anyone. Sometimes they still struggle, but the therapist has been a huge help. Personally, I still see my own therapist. The depression and loneliness sneak up on me some nights, but talking it through and focusing on my kids helps me move forward. The divorce itself isn't finalized yet because these things drag on, but the custody arrangement is in place, and that's what I care about the most. At the end of the day, despite everything, I'm grateful. Grateful for my kids, grateful that Leah and I can at least cooperate for their sake, and grateful that therapy has given me tools to be stronger for them. My life looks nothing like what I imagined a couple of years ago, but these kids are my anchor, and I'll keep doing whatever it takes to give them the home they deserve. Additional information from OP's comments. First off, the custody order I mentioned isn't permanent. It's a temporary arrangement put in place while the divorce is still ongoing. The court leaned on the custody evaluator's report, which showed that I'd been the primary caregiver for years. Because of that, the judge didn't want to upend the kids' routines by immediately switching to a 50-50 setup. The supervised visits at my home aren't about punishing Leah. They're meant to give the kids stability while they adjust. Once the divorce is finalized, the custody agreement will be revisited, and realistically, I expect that it will shift towards shared custody. I've come to terms with that because at the end of the day, these are her kids too, and they deserve both parents in their lives. I'll admit, when this first blew up, my reaction wasn't nearly as balanced. I was angry and betrayed, and I wanted the kids to myself. That was me reacting as a hurt husband, not as a father. Months of therapy, both my own and with the kids, helped me process it. I don't want to cut Leah out completely. What I want is stability and fairness for the kids, and if that means they eventually spend more time with her, then I'll accept it. A few people have asked about my daughter. The court recognizes me as her legal father, and in every way that matters, she is my daughter. On the financial side, child support is part of the case too. Since I've got temporary full custody, my lawyer filed for support, and the court will decide the amount based on Leah's income. It won't erase all the financial stress, but it will help. Working remotely has already cut down on childcare costs, and more importantly, it lets me be there for the kids every day. That's what matters most. So that's where things stand beyond what I shared in my last update. This process has been long, messy, and exhausting, but the goal is the same: making sure my kids come through this with as much stability and love as possible. Well, OP, I think this is a positive update. Things seem to be moving on. You are way better than you were 9 months ago, of course. You've done the work, you've been there for your kids, and your kids are having the help they need as well. I think you're being very fair with your ex-wife, and she still sucks because she's a cheater. So on that note, here's wishing you the best, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Theory Large. Manager said I was useless at my job. Showed him exactly why. At the time I was working in a toy shop, and it was coming up to Christmas, so you can imagine how busy we were. No busier than that, each worker was given a specific section of the store to keep tidy and stocked. Mine at the time was what we called boys' toys, all the action figures and so on. However, I was also the only person other than managers who could process refunds, exchanges, and so on. And because Boys Toys was right beside the tills and the managers could be anywhere, no radios, the cashiers got into the habit of calling me for help. And it being nearly Christmas, there were a lot of exchanges, refunds, and other things needing my intervention. Our store was franchised, and we had a district manager, Derek, who had never worked the floor a day in his life. He had some kind of business degree. He visited a few weeks before Christmas, came into Boys Toys an hour or so before closing, and got mad because it was messy and there were some gaps in the shelves. He refused to listen to my attempted explanations and stormed off. Next morning, he was right there at opening time. When we had our pre-start meeting where sections were assigned, he interrupted our manager to say, "I'm putting myself with OP today. She clearly doesn't know how to handle the section, so I'm going to show her what's what." There was an awkward silence for a moment before the manager went on with his assignments. I kept perfectly silent. Derek trailed me to Boys Toys and looked around. "Well, what's first? Or don't you have a plan?" "Well, first I usually..." "Oh, sorry, that's the tills calling for help. I'll be back in a minute." Dealt with the tills, returned, got halfway through explaining the first job, and was called away again. By the time I got back, it was 15 minutes into shift, and he hadn't done any work yet. I have to give it to him, he stuck with it all day. I finally managed to show him what we were doing, and he schlepped up the stockroom and down to the shelves half a dozen times. Tidied the same set of shelves because kids love throwing things all over the floor. Watched as I was called away an average of 5 times an hour. I didn't usually keep track, but you bet your ass off I did that day. He took his lunch when I did, 10 minutes late because of a refund. He didn't apologize, of course, I was too lowly for that. But the next morning at the opening meeting, my manager announced that from now on, Boys Toys would have 2 staff as a matter of course, and that the managers would make an effort to be more available to the tills. Well, OP, it sucks that he doesn't have the character enough to apologize when he absolutely is wrong and is proven wrong, but he did see the need to change how things were being done at that place. So thanks for sharing, OP, and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.